fairness and rights to all of its citizens, and we still have some unfinished business when it comes to the LGBT community.
I am Yadiwa Kane. I was born female identified in New York City in the early 70s, and I've always had a strong sense of family and tradition and pride in being an American. Being in New York, you know, New Yorkers are, first of all, very proud to be New Yorkers, but we take very seriously our pride in being American. We're right there, and we're indoctrinated with the Statue of Liberty in our backyard, and we do the tours when we're a kid, and you learn to take it very seriously. When I was 6, my biological mother joined the military, and I spent the next 12 years traveling the world. I went from New York City to Spokane, Washington, to the Philippines, and then to high school in England, which is a lot of drastic change during formative years. The one thing I can say that remained consistent is that when you're an American living on military bases around the world, your bond is being an American. And so sometimes the only people you know, the only people that speak the language are the people you know on the base, and they become like family. And several times when I was in high school in England and in the Philippines, when President Marcos was overthrown in '86, we found ourselves literally running from groups who were chasing us and beating us up simply because we were American. When Marcos was overthrown in '86, they locked down the base, and they were saying all Americans get on base as soon as possible. Several Filipinos groups were attacking American soldiers, trying to climb the fence to get on base. We had to sneak through the fields to get on base. And all that time, the one camaraderie you had is, okay, we're banding together as Americans on this base, surrounded by all this, uproar and hostility. When I was in high school and I came out as a lesbian, it really wasn't a problem among my friends. It didn't become a problem until I was dating a girl who was active duty, and eventually we were outed by some other kids in a gossip circle. When it came out that we had been dating, she was 3 weeks short of leaving to go to officer candidate school. We wound up doing a 2-day investigation panel with 2 colonels and a master sergeant, where they asked us incredibly personal questions. I was 16. They were asking, have you kissed? Have you slept together? Have you touched each other? My mother was not allowed in the room with me. And my girlfriend, instead of going to officer candidate school in 3 weeks, had 90 days to process and was kicked out of the Air Force. At that point, I knew it was very clear as a lesbian, the Air Force was not going to be for me, which broke my heart because I had grown up in this tradition, and the idea of serving your country, being the next in line to serve your country, and being a family tradition and the honor involved meant a lot to me. I had friends whose fathers had served in Vietnam. My best friend in high school, her and her family were actually evacuated off the Vietnamese embassy in 75 because she was born there. And so the tradition of Americans in other countries, helping other countries, and being a part of making a difference in the world and moving things forward was something I grew up with and wanted to be a part of. I did 4 years of ROTC in high school, and I very much loved the idea of the commitment and dedication of being in the military, but at that point it was very clear that having chosen to come out as a lesbian, I had chosen not to go in the military. Like, once I identified as one, the other was not going to be possible. Since then, it's kind of just been this always sadness for me. Many of my friends from high school, because we were on military bases, they all enlisted. My sister is an Army vet who did 2 tours in Afghanistan. I'm incredibly proud of her. My younger brother, my only brother, my little brother, is a first lieutenant in the Air Force right now, serving in Alaska. I'm incredibly proud of him. His father retired. My mother retired. At this point, we go back 4 generations of military service, and not being able to be a part of that tradition if I wanted to bothers me. It kind of broke my heart. Some people will say, well, I wouldn't join the military anyway, but it bothers me more that I didn't have the choice, because I would like to have been able to say, I am next in line, I am 3rd generation, I am following this tradition, and I am serving my country. And to have that choice taken from me, it feels like a violation, and it hurts. Now that I'm older, and in the last 4 years since I made the transition and am living male, I look back on the possibility, and I look back on the younger generations where they're transitioning earlier, and I think about that. If I had been able to transition at 14, 15, would I have been able to enlist? Would I still have been able to have a military career? And then we come across projects like this, and I start to ask the other questions. why should I have had to make a question? Why could I not just choose to serve my country no matter who I am, simply because I'm American and I want to serve my country? Why should it have to be an either or choice between who I love or whether I transition? Why can't I just say, I'm American, I love my country, I want to serve? And so even 20 years later, it still kind of stings that was taken out of my hands and not something I can do. Now I have 6 children. My daughter, I have 5 stepchildren, and then my daughter lives with me, and none of them want to join the military. None of them even consider the idea. I feel like they're cheated. I feel like a lot of the younger generation, my kids, my nieces and nephews, don't know the same kind of pride in service to your country that we grew up with. I mean, I remember when Lee Greenwood's Proud to be American would come on and the whole base would stand. I remember when the national anthem would play at 4 o'clock and nobody moved, because till the flag came down, that was respect. And it bothers me that our kids aren't being taught that. And I know no country's perfect, and there are plenty of people who say there's things with American doctrine, but I am an American and I'm proud to be an American. And I think there is something to be honored by saying I would fight and die for my country and the rights of the people in it. I think that's admirable, and I think anyone who does that is a hero simply by saying it. I would have liked the chance to be that kind of hero. Now that I am a husband and a father, and I'm looking forward to having other kids, I would like to know, even if my chance has passed, that as my sons and daughters grow up, if they choose to join the military, that my life won't hinder them, won't stop them from going. That they won't say, oh, well, your father was a trans man and, you know, maybe you can't enlist or you can't go to the academy. That if my children grow up gay or become trans, that if they want to serve, they should have that opportunity, because I was cheated out of it, and I know firsthand what my siblings are doing and the honor and that they serve with. And I don't want my kids to be cheated out of it. If they choose to go and stand in line for their country, they should have that right, regardless of who they love or how they identify, because first and foremost, they're choosing to identify as an American and to serve their country. And that should be the bottom line. And so while it breaks my heart that I was kind of like the missing link in the family tradition, I hope as things change, my kids will get to see what it means to go around the world and stand proudly. You know, when you're an American and you're serving other places and you're wearing your uniform, and people can look at you and say, that is an American soldier and they are here to help us. They are here for our benefit and our well-being. There's pride in that. And I want my kids to know that if they choose to follow that path and serve, that other things won't hinder them. It shouldn't hinder them if they were born in Hawaii versus Chicago. It shouldn't hinder them if they were born assigned female and realize they're male. It shouldn't hinder them if they're over 5 feet tall or under 5 feet tall, because they are born in America and they want to serve their country, and that should be the bottom line.
My name is Alexis Pierce. I'm 27. I'm currently trying to get into the military. It's something I always thought I would do. My ancestors have been warriors or in the military literally as far back as we could trace. My oldest ancestor was a knight, and after him were more knights, and then we had some exiled knights, and then once we came over on the Mayflower, we had people in the Army. My father was in the Coast Guard, his father's in the Air Force. It's literally in our blood as much as it could be. So I thought that was something that I would always do. When I was 10, I discovered I was also a man, and you discover it. There's no way you decide this. So I discovered that when I was young enough, and then I grew up with all the aches and pains that come up with it. When I was 21, I started undergoing the process of transformation. I took hormones, I got chest surgery, and worked out a lot. Because I wanted to get in the military as a man. Unfortunately, now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like that's a possibility. We might be able to sneak me in as a woman. However, that would be disregarding the entire past 6 years of my life. And I might not get in at all. It might be on my record already, just because I needed to go through counseling to get the hormones. And I can't imagine anything less fair than that. All that work in the gym every day. I can run a mile in 6.5 minutes. I can do 50 push-ups, and really this doesn't matter at all. It's not fair. So I either get to give up on something that's in my blood or get called ma'am again throughout my entire career, or rejected forever. It's either way I lose, and I can't. That's all kinds of unfair.
Good morning, everybody. I have to say, for legal reasons first, that I am here today as the Executive Director of DoD FedGlobe, and it is not my intent to reflect the views of my employer, the Department of Defense. My name is Lisa Coe.